To Rwanda now, where leaders from regional bloc IGAD are to discuss the crisis in South Sudan. They've gathered in Kigali for the AU summit. UN Chief Kimoon is also attending that meeting. IGAD has been holding talks with South Sudan's leaders and says elements within the country's army are spoiling the peace process, specifically when it comes to implementing the peace deal.
Of course, there has been issues in the agreement. The government, the president of South Sudan has severally, in his own diplomatic way, talked about what he thought was misgivings in the agreement, and so has the first vice president. But that is natural. But I tend to think that there are definitely people in different groups. So we tend to think there could be military spoilers.
Well, we understand that that IGAD meeting is getting underway in Kigali. Let's go live now to CCTV's Jane Kyo for more details. Jane, just confirm for us that that meeting has indeed started, and what are likely some of the main points to be discussed?
Key among this is that the leaders will actually be discussing how to go about that military intervention, the additional troops. IGAD foreign affairs ministers did, of course, recommend that special intervention brigade to South Sudan, whose mandate will basically be to secure Juba. It's still unclear which countries will be contributing these troops, their exact numbers, plus the timelines when exactly the troops will actually be going into South Sudan. And of course, even when that happens, there's no doubt that this will not be an easy task for the Special Intervention Brigade, given the situation in South Sudan, where there's still a huge number of illegal firearms, plus a sense of lawlessness, like you had there from the IGAD Executive Secretary, saying that there's a sense, or there are reports that perhaps there's a section of the military that's really not for the peace process. And what we are hearing here in Kigali so far, there's a sense of willingness really to resolve this crisis in South Sudan. We've heard from Rwanda's Foreign Affairs Minister Louis Mushikiwabo saying that nothing will be off the table, that leaders will have to ensure that the lives of South Sudanese are protected and that the peace process is back on track. And Lindy, the fact that this meeting is actually being held in Kigali, you can say, is quite symbolic, given the events that happened here about 22 years ago. And so certainly the leaders are under pressure to deliver and try to resolve at least this crisis, if possible, once and for all.
And of course, Jane, we know that earlier this week, UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon delivered a very strong statement on the crisis in South Sudan. I imagine that this is what he'll be reiterating in today's meeting.
Well, certainly, and the fact that he is here, Lindy, shows the seriousness of the situation in South Sudan. The UN itself has already been a victim of these latest clashes. 2 Chinese peacekeepers were among the fatalities. Several others were injured. Already, the UN is warning that up to the number of South Sudanese refugees could actually go up to 1 million by the end of the year. And already, Ban Ki-moon, like you said, there has been speaking strongly, talking tough in this situation in South Sudan. He's, of course, pushing for an arms embargo against South Sudan. He's pushing for targeted sanctions, plus the reinforcement of the UN mission in South Sudan. Already he's met quite a number of leaders. He did meet with Ethiopian Prime Minister Haile Mariam Desalegn and repeated the same information and said that he fears that if nothing is done or no solution is found, the situation in South Sudan could actually escalate. Lindy?
Jane, thanks very much. We'll leave it there for now. Thanks for that update from Kigali.